Yesterday on the show, a bit of an argument, Diane started it, about whether or not it was spring. By the end of the show, you just wore me down, Diane. Eventually,
we all
I
agree it's
conceded
spring.
that perhaps it's time to wake up and smell the roses.
Exactly.
Spring has sprung, and with the spring comes the cleaning.
That's right. We were talking spring cleaning yesterday, but a spring cleaning of another sorts today with Tanya Unkovic. Tanya, thanks for being a part of the show.
You are welcome.
We all collect things over the years. Some people, they might consider themselves to be collectors. Other people describe them as hoarders. They take a little bit of their life with them wherever they go, and then moving house is an absolute nightmare. In fact, they've still got their learning to print books from primary school. They just can't seem to let go of stuff. And the same is also true, perhaps, of grief, of broken relationships, of missed opportunities. We carry this stuff round with us like baggage. Perhaps spring's an opportunity to do some cleaning, Tanya.
Absolutely. An emotional detox, right?
Yeah.
Make the decision to, because one of the things we carry as well are stories, these beliefs that are so limiting. They're stopping us from moving forward in our life. And we're holding on to these stories that aren't necessarily true anymore. They maybe never were true. You believed them back then, but you're still carrying them. You've got this massive sack on your back of old stories and beliefs. So now is the perfect time to give yourself permission to let them go.
So, I think it's firstly kind of realising that you're carrying stuff, because that often is the biggest barrier, is that you might sort of feel weary and tired and, just not right, but you may not be aware that's because actually there's things that you're holding on to, resentments perhaps, that actually it's time to let go of.
Yeah. There's this amazing saying that says, if I sat with my anger and resentment long enough, then I discovered that its real name was actually sadness and grief.
Wow.
What is so often beneath those really high energy emotions is just pure sadness and grief that we don't want to feel even, or we don't even know it's sitting there until we're triggered.
Sometimes with the grieving process, we want to hold on to things. We want to hold on to things, to memories perhaps, and maybe we chuck them in the proverbial attic of our mind and store them away, and then something comes up and we go, oh yes, that thing again. I still haven't tied that off. I still haven't let that go.
Well, and there is a time when you can actually say to yourself, well, it's okay for me to still have a memory or still be triggered with grief, but it's also okay for me to move forward and live and be joyful again. The two can coexist. And you see, we often carry this belief that you can't show anger, you can't be seen to be upset and bitter and things like that. And that's why we push it down. Give it time to rise up and face it and feel it. But then you can still get on with your day and laugh and sing and enjoy the beauty of spring, It doesn't often happen overnight when one disappears. So give it time for you to process through it.
Now, one of the ways that some of this baggage might show up are in things like your mood, and we've talked about, sadness, but also in other things that actually can be more destructive. And I'm thinking, overeating, drinking, that kind of thing. So it's also recognizing that actually something's going on because of those things and then going from there, right?
Yes. And if you haven't noticed it yourself, then someone else will be noticing it for you. And it's about, being a little bit humble and going, oh, okay, I've had this told to me a few times. Maybe there is some truth in it. So take ownership of it. So if your partner is saying, this is actually what's going on for me, then maybe listen, there could be some truth in it. And there's nothing to be ashamed about. We're all human. We all, externalize stuff in order to bury what's going on underneath. So just give yourself a little bit of a break and go, okay, I'll own this.
As well as being a life coach and a mentor, you've also written some books as well. You've taken your story and you've put it into words. Now, there's an editorial process that happens there, Tanya. You say, okay, what parts of the story am I wanting to keep? Which parts am I wanting to highlight? and which ones do I just let go because they don't define me anymore? Not just when we're writing our memoirs, we need to perhaps do that regularly in our own life story.
Yeah, and when you're letting things go, just imagine like you're going through your wardrobe, right? And you're ready to start letting go of things. We want to hang on to something, but we've not actually worn it for 2 years. So it's no longer serving us. It's about going, do I really need this? How is it serving me by holding on to this? So ask yourself the same question with emotions and with other things. How is it serving me holding on to this bitterness and unforgiveness? Oh, actually, it's not.
Now,
Right.
Tanya, you've got what I think is fantastic, a list. I love a good list. And this is...
Especially for you, Di.
yeah, thank you so much. 5 ways to let go of the baggage you are carrying. And I've got to say, number 2, I think is particularly important. But let's start with number 1.
Be ready and willing to let it go.
Mm-hmm.
Once you are willing to let something go, then number 2, I can guarantee you it'll happen.
Yeah.
If you put number 2 into practice.
This is kind of like the Marie Kondo approach to to personal baggage in some ways, I suppose, is releasing it, letting it go, but also bringing God into the process as well, asking him to help you in that letting go process and heal the gap, heal the wound that is left by that, perhaps.
Yes, yes. You know, believing that nothing is impossible to God. And imagine if you are willing to say, I can't carry this pain anymore. Lord, I am handing it over to you. Maybe even make it a ritual if you have to. Just imagine that you're putting it into a balloon and you're letting that balloon go and saying, it's yours now, Lord. I don't need to handle this anymore. But you know what I'd like you to replace this bitterness with, Lord, is love and compassion and forgiveness and prayer for this other person.
What's next on the list, Tanya? So we've got be ready and willing to let it go. We've got prayer. Number 3.
Talk to another human being. You know, that's one way to get rid of shame. That's one way to get rid of a lot of these deep things that we carry that we think no one else in the world has. I can guarantee you they have, okay?
Yeah.
But when you talk to another human being, there's just something magical that happens when you can share and go, oh, it just takes so much of the load off. But also, you're probably helping that other human being as well.
Yeah. No, wonderful to share that burden and perhaps support each other in that journey as well. Sometimes, though, I suppose writing it down, talking about the book that you're writing beforehand, sometimes writing down our feelings, or perhaps the person that we need to talk to is no longer with us. So important to write down our thoughts about a situation in the past, perhaps writing a letter of forgiveness to somebody who's no longer around for us to forgive.
It's a beautiful way to be able to release something within you. It's also a beautiful way to say to them, I really am grateful to you for this experience because in spite of it being painful, you taught me so much. You know, so really reflect on what was beautiful about this difficult situation that you are now letting go and sharing forgiveness. So it's a beautiful way to do that.
So that's number 4 on the list, Tanya. And let's finish it off with number 5.
Be really good to yourself. Show yourself compassion. If you have to, write yourself a letter.
Yeah.
Maybe write yourself a letter to the little girl or the little boy that you're always so angry at inside. You know, write a letter to your former self that you are punishing yourself for past actions. So be really kind to yourself in this process. If you're not, then, you know, how are you going to expect others to be kind to yourself? So start within.
Such good stuff, Tanya, and I know that this is going to be some practical steps to help people listening today to be able to perhaps clear out some of the baggage that has been holding them back, to give it up to God and to move on with the next season of their life and for the next thing God is calling them into. Thank you so much for the work that you do, and thanks for being part of the program today.
My pleasure.